Hey everyone, welcome back. So in today's video we're going to be talking about the phloem sieve tube elements and the process of translocation. When we talk about the phloem, we should know that it's a kind of a tissue and it's a part of the vascular bundles. It has sieve tubes which are the main essence of this tissue. Number one thing we should know is that they are living tissues. The sieve elements, which is the main kind of cell here, and the companion cells. You can see this green one, these green tubes are the sieve tubes because they have a sieve, and the blue ones are the companion cells. So these two kinds of cells mainly make the phloem tissue. They both are living cells. They are not dead like xylem or my soul. Sieve tubes have no cellular contents. It means they are hollow from the inside to have more space for the transportation of sugar molecules, or you can use the word assimilates. Let me write that. The word assimilates here means all those food molecules which are required by the plant cell. So they transport sucrose, which is a kind of a sugar, and amino acids from leaves. These leaves are the source of those sugar molecules because they have the mesophyll tissue where sugars are made. From the leaves to the roots and fruits and flowers. Why do roots, fruits and flowers need? Because they are the sink, they are the regions where food is stored. The third point we should know about the phloem tissue is their flow direction. Here, the food molecules flow in both direction, upward and downward. If there are more fruits on the upper region of the plant, then food is mainly moving upwards. It is also moving downwards towards the roots. If we can sum up the entire process of plant transportation and nutrition, we should know that everything begins from the roots, where the process of DAO happens, DAO. The D stands for diffusion, A stands for active transport, and O stands for osmosis. Diffusion and active transport are for ions, and osmosis is for water. Once all these important substances are inside the roots, they travel towards the xylem, which is mainly in the stem, and obviously in roots and leaves you can also find xylem tissue. So step 2 is xylem. In xylem there is no osmosis going on. Water is moving as a continuous column in the upward direction towards the leaves. This phenomena is known as transpiration pull. What is meant by transpiration pull? It means that it's not osmosis. It means that there is a scarcity of water on the upper side, so water moves upwards. In the roots, when there is high water, there's a slightly high hydrostatic pressure. There's a high hydrostatic pressure. And when we talk about the leaves, they have low hydrostatic pressure. Why do they have lower? Because leaves constantly eliminate their water by transpiration. So leaves have scarcity of water and roots have abundance of water. That is why water moves from lower side to the upper side through the xylem through transpiration pull. Now we know that leaves gain sunlight and then they perform photosynthesis. So step 3 is going to be photosynthesis happens mainly during the daytime. What happens is that carbon dioxide comes from the atmosphere through the stomata by the process of diffusion. And then carbon dioxide combines with water to make glucose, which is a sugar molecule, and byproduct oxygen. If we balance the equation, this looks like this. The oxygen is a byproduct, so it is eliminated in the daytime, but glucose is our main concern. So step 4 is that you get all the glucose and then you convert it into a sugar known as the sucrose. We'll talk about it shortly. Now sucrose is the main sugar which is transported through the phloem in step 5. We know phloem is a living tissue. It has the phloem sieve tube elements which have these sieves where there is pores in the cell wall of the cells. These sieves are nothing but porous cell walls. So sucrose transport downwards. When sucrose moves downwards or perhaps in any direction through the phloem, this phenomena is known as translocation. Reminder that the sieves have pores, these sieve plates got pores, which provides easier transportation. So leaves are the source of the sugar and roots are mainly the sink of the sugar because this is where storage happens. If you think about potato, if you think about beetroot, if you think about any other root like carrots, they have starch in them and they are basically roots. So sugars are stored inside the roots, mainly the sink. And then we eat those potato and then all these vegetables which have starch in them. If we sum up this idea, we should understand that what's happening in the phloem is known as translocation. This is a term that AS level people use more. And on the left side, when you see what's happening in the xylem, that is known as transpiration pull. If you are a part of AS Bio, you will talk about transpiration pull in more detail. Because hydrogen bonding is very important here. Moving on, let's talk about the role of sugars in plants. We know what they do, but let's sum it up. We know that leaves produce sugar by combining 6 moles of carbon dioxide with 6 moles of water. That's not the exact equation, but that's a simplified version, by the way. You get glucose. Glucose is a hexose sugar. The word hex means it's a 6 carbon sugar. We'll talk about it in the next chapter. Then you take 2 glucose molecules within the cell cytoplasm and you remove 1 water molecule and you combine those 2 glucoses to make 1 bigger molecule known as sucrose. Sucrose got 12 carbon atoms. It's a combination of 2 sugar molecules. That is why sucrose is an example of a disaccharide. The word disaccharide means it's a combination of 2 sugars. Glucose is a monosaccharide because glucose is 1 sugar. This sucrose goes towards the phloem with the help of the companion cells. Then phloem is in charge of transporting these sugar molecules wherever it's needed, like roots for storage and in the form of starch. So sucrose goes into roots and then makes starch. Then we have flowers which need it because flowers are constantly in the state of sexual reproduction. So for sexual reproduction they need energy. That is why it's there. Fruits also need sugar molecules. Again for the same reason, because fruits are growing. They need also storage. So here it's mainly storage. What's the other purpose of it? So it is converted into fat. You convert sugar into fat, and this fat is another important element for the growth of plants. Then you can convert this sucrose or these sugar molecules into cellulose. Cellulose is another kind of a sugar polymer which is used for the cell wall. Now we'll continue to talk about another topic which is very related, and that is mineral nutrition in plants. Now when we talk about them, we need to imagine 3 different kinds of plants. Imagine the first, which is the normal one here. It has proper green leaves with proper size and it has evidence of a good growth. On the left hand side you can see a plant which has nitrate ion deficiency. On the right side you can see the plant which has magnesium ion deficiency. So first spot the differences between a normal plant and a plant which has these ion deficiencies. See, nitrate makes amino acids which you know helps in the making of proteins, and at the same time proteins are enzymes. So you can imagine that if nitrates are missing, proteins aren't going to be made. Nitrate also makes DNA molecules known as the DNA mononucleotides, which ultimately make proper DNA or the nucleic acid. Now you can imagine if you don't have enough DNA or proteins, what's the problem going to be? Without proteins and DNAs, a plant cannot perform glucose synthesis because the enzymes are not there. Since enzymes are missing, the growth is not going to be there. At the same time, cell division is not going to happen because enough DNA can't be made. So what you'll see is no synthesis of proper cell content, including the molecules, and no cell division. So you'll see a plant with very short leaves, very small leaves, very underdeveloped twigs, and you're going to see stunted growth within the overall plant. If we talk about magnesium ions are part of the chlorophyll molecule. So you can imagine if magnesium isn't missing, you're not going to have enough chlorophyll. You're not going to be able to perform photosynthesis. And since you can't perform photosynthesis, you're not going to be able to make enough glucose. So less energy is going to be available for the plant. Since less energy is available, the plant is not going to be able to show proper growth. So ultimately, you're not seeing growth at the end of the day. At the same time, what evidence do you see? So you see, since chlorophyll is missing or chlorophyll is incomplete, you'll see yellowish leaves within the leaf. And this phenomena of having yellow spots on the leaves is known as chlorosis. I hope this idea is clear for you guys. In the coming videos, we'll talk about some past papers for the same chapter. Stay tuned, guys. Thanks.